Well, hey, Paul. This is the Christmas episode for 2022. Last year, we did an episode that was very much Christmas focused. But this year, it's going to be a little bit of Christmas, but not completely. I wouldn't call this a Christmas episode per se.
No, that's right. But actually, I should point out, you did call it Christmas 2022. So we're getting very much ahead of ourselves.
Oh, I am jumping ahead.
Yeah, we're still, unfortunately, we're still in 2021 under the guise of coronavirus. So, yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to push things forward. But so 2021 Christmas episode 65, I think this is, right?
Yeah. That's still amazing. Every time I hear episode 65, 64, it's amazing that we've come so far. It seems like I've been doing this forever.
Well, some people might think we have, but as long as we think we've come a long way, I think that's the important part.
Well, those who don't like us, I'm sure would have tuned us out a long, long time ago.
That's right. What do they say? If you don't want to listen to it, don't change the station.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's amazing. Here we are at Christmas. It's been a few weeks since we've done an episode, so it's good to reconnect and good to catch up on stuff.
Yeah, and we got some updates, and I think you're going to give us the agenda, right?
That's right, yeah. So today's episode, just to go over a few things that we wanted to talk about today. As you had mentioned, yes, we have some updates on some of the prior topics that we have tackled a couple weeks back. I believe maybe 2 to 3 episodes ago, so fairly recent stuff. Another thing we wanted to talk about is that you recently applied for a rather unique job. So you wanted to talk a little bit about your experiences putting together that application. Again,
yes.
This is kind of unique, so I think our listeners will be curious to know what that's all about. You mentioned that we have some listener mail. I'm excited to hear that.
We do.
We haven't had a lot of listener mail. We've had feedback, but...
I've hidden most of it from you because I didn't want it to hurt your feelings.
Yeah, you took away all the death threats and the...
yeah, once I filtered through all the
stuff, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, hey, we've got listener mail. I have visions of you with this huge bag of mail, dumping it out and sifting through all the letters. But I think letter, perhaps.
Yes, we've got. Don't get people's hopes up. We've got. After I filtered through all the nasty stuff, I have one letter that I think is shareable on the air.
Only one did not contain profanity and death threats, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. We want to do our rapid fire. For our listeners, this is a segment, fairly recent segment that we have put together over the last couple of episodes, and we have a lot of fun doing this. So this is going to be rapid fire, something that we want to keep going because it's fun to tackle these short question and answer periods and have some laughs while doing it.
It's perfect because people that think we ramble on are quite delighted that we limit ourselves to 2 minutes per topic.
Yeah, that's right. It keeps us in check. That way, you're right. We don't want to keep rambling on because we've known to be. We can do that every once in a while.
We can do that, although I think some people find comfort in it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can ramble for hours if people find comfort in that. It can be arranged. You've got some weird news stories. That's always fun to listen to. And we're just going to wrap things up by talking about what we're watching, what we're reading, that type of thing. So it's always interesting to know what's going on in that. So yeah, I think we got an action-packed episode. So let's jump right in.
Okay, well, let me just first start off by a quick update on personal goal. Remember, we had our 2 personal goals we were working on, and I think yours is kind of parked for now, the Bhatia goal. But I wanted to just give a quick update that there really isn't much of an update on my memory goal. I was supposed to book an appointment this month in December, and have yet to do so. And now with the holidays and Omicron and all that, it's kind of on the back burner. So I'll look to do that in January. So no, that's just a quick update in case people were, just to be held accountable. So in case people were wondering.
Okay, very good. Yeah, and I guess that's a good segue into some of our updates. You mentioned about the Bhatia or Bhatia,
yes,
I believe. Yes. So
yes, I know. We had one listener who's told us it's Bhatia, which I think we've since found out is incorrect. But
okay.
I think it is just Bhatia.
Okay.
But anyway, we should one day confirm how to pronounce his name. But yes, there is an update. So listeners who go ahead.
Well, yeah, I was going to say I don't want to keep belaboring the point here with Nav Bhatia. But yeah, just to kind of put a bow on that whole conversation and challenge that we had regarding him. The reason why we wanted to bring him up is because he was in the news recently with everything going on with the coronavirus, the Omicron variant. In the news, I'm sure anyone who is a sports fan realizes that there's been a lot of professional sports games that have been postponed, rescheduled, and the NBA has certainly been a victim to that. Yep. So part of that is because Nav Bhatia, he was on a trip. I think it was some kind of a charitable trip that he did. I forget where. I think it could have actually been Africa.
What's happened here is Nav Bhatia missed his first Raptors game in 25 years since 1995. So it's the first home game he's missed since the Toronto franchise joined the NBA in 1995.
That's right.
He was attending something called the Giants of Africa Gala event.
Yep.
There was the vice chairman and president of this event tested positive for COVID-19. So the Toronto Public Health request was that everyone in attendance at the event, calling it an incredible event that followed all protocols, by the way, according to him, that he wasn't experiencing any symptoms, but he did test positive. I'm sorry. I got that incorrect. So the president and vice chairman, Masai Ujiri,
yep,
he tested positive, and so Toronto Public Health said anyone in attendance at that event had to isolate, and so he was unable to attend the game after 25 years. It's a very sad day for Nav Bhatia.
Yeah, well, it just sort of underlines how remarkable his story is, and obviously we talked about how they're making a movie and a biopic of him and everything.
Yes, but biopic or biopic?
Biopic, I suppose, whatever is the proper way to announce that.
Have you always said biopic whenever you see that word?
Yeah, I have actually. I don't know if that's right.
It's biopic, isn't it?
All right. Either way, yeah, here we go. We're talking about a guy who missed his first home game in 26 years. That is truly remarkable when you really think about it. Like, think about, the number of times you go to the Blue Jays game, or we've talked about the Oshawa Generals, a local hockey team close to where we live, like going to every single game. I believe that's 42 home games a year for 26 years. That is remarkable.
It is
achievement in itself. So it's worthy of a shout out to say that this made the headlines in the news, the fact that he had to miss his first game, and he felt so bad about it, but obviously he was cheering on the team watching from home.
Well, he also had in his tweet, he said he had two requests. He said, number one, to cheer on and in his absence, and number two is he wanted people to acknowledge his Kal Penn, Kal Penn, the actor who is going to be playing him in that biopic you were mentioning.
Biopic, you mean? Yeah.
Kal Penn with a C. No, with a K.
With a K.
And he was the guy in that Kumar and so-and-so go to White Castle. What was the name of that movie?
Yeah, Harold and Kumar go to White Castle, which is actually a pretty funny movie.
So Kal Penn from that movie. Kal Penn was in that movie, right?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he's playing Nav Bhatia in the Raptor, or in the biopic. So he went in his place to the game, is my understanding.
Okay.
Which
right.
I don't know if he dressed up like Nav Bhatia, but he did go to the game. We should actually look into that.
Okay.
That's kind of it for Nav. We wanted to, and the other point of that too was that we decided that because Nav Bhatia wants $5,000 in donations to his charity before he'll agree to make an appearance on our show, probably any show, we parked that one for now until we figure out a viable way to raise those funds.
Yeah, there could be a while before we figure that one out. The other update we wanted to talk about, I believe it was maybe two episodes ago, or at least for you and I. If you recall, we talked about that autonomous vehicle.
Oh, I should mention we have some construction going on in our house right now. So we'll have to work around it. I'll let you give the update on the bus, and I'm going to mute this so it doesn't come through.
Okay, good idea. So, yeah, I wanted to provide an update. We talked about autonomous vehicles. And the reason we talked about it is because there was a vehicle that was put together. It was I live in a town called Whitby. And yeah, we showed some photographs of this autonomous vehicle that was, I guess, a pilot project by the town. It had funding from one of the local colleges, from the province. Various levels of government contributed to this thing, which I'm sure was very, very expensive. And I just questioned the practicality of this.
And we witnessed it. We saw it. We saw it driving.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We wondered how this thing could be practical, considering it only drives 20 kilometers an hour, which is not very fast. And it only holds maybe about 6 people, and it has a driver on board. So apparently, I was doing a little research on this. The reason why there's still a driver or a person on board is to monitor the vehicle in case they have to take over the controls for whatever reason, which is weird in itself. In that, does that mean you're not trusting the technology? The fact that you're having a person on board?
That's normal.
Okay. Last week, apparently there was, and this is very sort of a mysterious circumstances here, but it crashed. So it made all, as I said, it made all the news headlines. Apparently this autonomous vehicle crashed into a tree. And normally this would be a very humorous thing to talk about, but unfortunately the driver of this autonomous vehicle,
or the attendant,
the attendant, I should say, was actually injured quite bad. Apparently he was in critical condition, taken to hospital. So, our thoughts go out to him. Hopefully he recovers, and nobody. Hopefully there's no fatalities here, but it's so bizarre, this thing. Like, did it lose control? Like, I have visions of like Rise of the Machines, where this thing just went berserk and just smashed into a tree. And I don't think we really know the answer to that, because from what I can tell, the investigation is still ongoing.
Yeah. So
there hasn't been any news updates about what caused this crash, but it was so bizarre. And we have photos of it. One of the local residents on our Facebook group page had posted a photo of this thing like crumpled in front of a tree, and one of the news stations had posted photos. So we can put that on our show notes so you can get an idea as to what this thing's all about. But
yeah, again,
circling back to the bizarre oddity of these circumstances with this, this pilot project. My prediction is that this thing is going to be shelved permanently, that this was a very short-lived experiment. And if there's, this autonomous vehicle is probably going to be destined to be shoved in a warehouse somewhere for the end of eternity.
Well, and that's, in reading some of the comments, either it was in the news article or on that Facebook thing, there was a lot of people saying things like, you see what happens when you try to automate, and a lot of I told you so started coming through in the comments, which bothered me, because I think people are just fearful of technology and aren't necessarily open to things like this. And to me, it just added more fuel to the whole I told you so part of it.
Yeah, I think my angle on it was the fact that, as a taxpayer, I'm wondering, how much is this thing costing? In that, how practical is this thing? I'm not against autonomous vehicles, because
it's coming. This will be a regular thing. This is coming, and it's going to take a bit longer, but it's coming.
No, I agree with you on that part. Autonomous vehicles, it is the wave of the future, but just this vehicle, it just seems so impractical. And I'm just, as you said, it was a curiosity for me even before this crash. And now you add in the crash, the bizarre nature of these circumstances. It just It just makes the entire situation rather puzzling to me.
Well, so apparently there's another automated shuttle in West Rouge. It's They are calling it a rival shuttle. It's operated by the Toronto Transit Commission, or TTC for short, and Metrolinx, and they're the ones that run the subway and commuter train systems here. That they had begun testing a vehicle, an automated shuttle, a self-driving shuttle bus running in a loop from the Rouge Hill GO station. And apparently, because of what happened in Whitby, they've decided to pause the trial for the West Rouge shuttle until they can figure out what happened.
Yeah, and I'm sure this investigation will take months, if not years, knowing the very slow pace of government, I suppose. But yeah, it's just bizarre. Very bizarre. Sad
for the driver. He's 23 years old. Now that kind of gives me a bit of pause for thought too. What are they putting a 23-year-old attendant on board? Maybe they'll find out this guy it was his fault. Maybe he'd been driving it all along and it wasn't automated and got behind the wheel. And I'm being a little bit unfair here.
No, but you raise a point. Once we figure out, I'm sure once the news outlets, if they announce it, once we can figure out what caused this incident, then we will definitely provide a further update. So
we will. Poor autonomous bus.
Yep.
And guy that got injured.
Yeah. Speaking of local events, you recently applied for a rather unique job. Why don't you fill us in? Because this was a sort of a lifelong dream or a unique experience that you did to that this job sort of prompted you to go through this path. So fill us in.
Yeah, sure. And, in previous conversations, we talked about my goal of wanting to be an anchorman for a prominent news organization. And that is and was a dream of mine. But another dream of mine was to be a PA announcer for a sports team, i.e., ideally someone like the Toronto Blue Jays or the Toronto Maple Leafs. I remember from the first times of going to games as a kid, always being intrigued by the public address announcer for whatever reason. And I would notice good and bad public address announcers whenever I would always compare them to the two that Toronto had in particular for their baseball and their hockey. And maybe I'll put a little clip of the two people in that one did the hockey, Paul Morris, who was known for kind of a monotone voice, which I always liked. And then Murray Eldon, who originally was the second, I think, PA announcer for the Blue Jays. And just the fact that I know that might indicate how, into this whole thing I am. But we follow a team called the Oshawa Generals, which is a hockey team out your way. It's part of the Ontario Hockey League. It's a junior league from 15 sort of plus up to 20, 21. Which is they're not a farm team of any NHL teams, but they're what's called a feeder league, which players in those leagues or in that league can be drafted by an NHL team, but they're not actually, going up and down from the team.
And just to kind of give some context to some of our listeners that may not be familiar with this, it's almost like a semi-professional hockey league, even though they are amateurs. But just
technically professional because they are paid.
To give some context in terms of the PA announcer role itself, the capacity for the arena is about 5,500 people.
Yeah, about 5,000, yeah.
Yeah, so 5,000. So by no means a small number. So yeah, this is something that we want to talk about because to be a PA announcer in front of potentially an audience of up to 5,000 people, that's a big deal.
Right. Good point. And the other thing I should point out is that the job of which I saw the posting in Facebook of all places on the Oshawa General's Facebook page was for a fill-in PA announcer. So they weren't looking for the new PA announcer or a new PA announcer. They were looking for a fill-in announcer who would be there in case as a backup. And no idea whether they're eventually planning to retire off the guy that's doing it now, but it was for a fill-in announcer role. And when I saw that, I was very excited. And so the requirements for applying for this job was to put a little resume together and a demo reel, which I don't or didn't have a demo reel at that time, and was like, all right, I guess I got to figure out how to make a demo reel. So I did put one together, and you heard it. I think I gave you a couple of examples of the demo reel for some feedback. And so I did that and applied for the job, and have yet to hear back. Now, this was probably 6 weeks ago now.
Mm-hmm. But you said that even if you don't get a call back, just the experience alone was something that brought a smile to your face.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Putting that demo reel together was one of the most exciting weeks of my life. And I know that might sound like a weird exaggeration, but I knew what I had. Like, I just started researching, what type of demo reel, how long should the demo reel be? What should be in the demo reel? And it just put me on this quest. I was looking on YouTube for other people with demo reels. I started looking at my own network that I knew. Mike, who's been on this podcast, recommended I speak to his friend who works for Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. I started finding other PA announcers out there who've done this and connected with them, got feedback from them on the demo reel. I had a heck of a time putting it together. It was fun. So
why did you have fun? Was it the act of putting it together itself, or was it with the idea that, hey, this could mean that I could be a PA announcer? Like, was it sort of a bit of everything? Like, I guess just to kind of, I commend you for applying for this role, but obviously, we talked about how it would be tough to get into a role like this, because I'm sure that they would want someone with radio experience or PA experience of some kind.
Yeah. Yes.
So has this prompted you to think that maybe there's other areas other teams that you could try to be a PA announcer for, like some amateur teams?
Yes. So why did I have a heck of a time, or heck of a fun time putting it together? Was because I just found myself, so for people that don't know, I've never done this before. I've never been a PA announcer at a sports game. So other people who do demo reels will use actual footage of themselves from doing games. So a few of the demo reels I saw were, actual doing it at a hockey game or at a basketball game. And I had to recreate that experience because I didn't have any. So I had to create that experience. So I put together about 5 or 6 different types of announcements, like, a goal's been scored, a penalty, introducing players, like as though the players were coming on the ice at the beginning of the game, get the crowd going. Did a public service announcement for like the charity that the Generals are involved with. So things like a bonus, like a contest mid-game where people, like a lucky fan, the winner of, pizza gift certificate, and so I had to build that. And thankfully, my podcasting experience came in handy because I knew how to edit something like that. So I was looking up crowd sound effects, music. I had to write most of the material I created myself, like, how to announce the goals. And that's just because I've seen so many games in my past. But it put a big smile on my face. And maybe I'll include it at the end of this episode. If anyone wants to listen to it, I'll put it in afterwards and people can listen to it if they want to hear what it sounded like.
Yeah, I guess, is that something you can put in the show notes? Like something you can click on and listen to the demo reel?
I could do that, or I could add it at the end. I could say, if you want to keep listening, after we're done, you can listen. If you for those that want to stay on and listen to the demo reel, I can maybe pop it in at the end of this episode.
Yeah, but
I loved it. It was
footage,
huge smile on my face, and I was very, very excited about it. Now the problem is that COVID and the Omicron virus or Omicron variant has definitely put a wrench in the works, because I had actually planned, I talked to the guy that does the PA announcing at Ryerson, and he agreed to let me come down and shadow him for a couple games there, for hockey games. And he said, you can come on up in the booth. We've got our video guy, we've got our music guy, and we've got me. Happy to have you come up here and just watch how it's done. So that's going to be on hold now. Oh, and one other thing. I'm not planning on quitting my day job because even the person that does the announcing for the Maple Leafs, at least the last person, and many of these roles are radio people, or they're involved in media. They have a day job where they're a radio announcer and they do this as a side job. So it's not, heads up, anyone who listens to this who I work with, I am not planning to quit my day job. This episode is brought to you by Pace Painting. Pace Painting, serving all your painting needs, whether it's commercial or residential. Now, full disclosure, Pete is my brother-in-law, and I would recommend him to do work for anyone. He's done several jobs for us. We've always been satisfied. We've recommended him to friends and family. He's great. Email Peter at paintwithpace@gmail.com or visit his Facebook page at Pace Painting Inc. That's paintwithpace@gmail.com or visit his Facebook page, Pace Painting Inc.
So, Clark, you're making me nervous here. You said listener mail. I'm nervous. What's going on here? I want to hear.
Are we ready for listener mail, or we want to do that after the rapid fire?
Let's do listener mail.
It's really intriguing, isn't it?
Yeah, curiosity is killing the cat here.
Okay. Well, we haven't had any Christmas discussion so far, really, at this point. So this will take us a little bit down that road. So, okay. So here we are. So it says, "Hi, Paul." So directed to you directly, not to, "Hi, we talked about this," or "Hi, Clark and Paul." This is directed to you.
Okay.
It says, "Hi, Paul. Hope you're keeping well. I'm an avid listener of the show and just wanted to throw my 2 cents in regarding your comments on Christmas lights from episode 63.
Okay.
I appreciate that having great Christmas decorations can be really pretty and absolutely make a neighborhood shine. That said, many people, including myself, don't celebrate Christmas and might not see the reason why we should decorate our houses. On the other hand, if I were in your neighborhood and being a house without decorations, I would in fact appreciate it if you knocked on my door to tell me what Christmas means to you and why you would encourage me to decorate my house. Perhaps if the reason resonated with me, I would be more inclined to partake in the festivities. And this is from, he signs it, Sandman88.
Okay, all right.
Well, what do you think?
Well, hey, it's a valid point, and hey, I fully understand that there is many cultures and religions that don't, I guess, celebrate Christmas in the sense that I guess Christian people do. So yeah, I think the intent of my comments were that I would by no means expect that every single house, like 100% compliance across the street. I think where I was coming from this is that there was still large numbers of people that don't celebrate. And we're, at least in my neighborhood, it's, I know it's kind of a weird thing to say, but it's not a very multicultural neighborhood.
I heard something the other day. So can I share the town you live in? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, in Whitby. I'm in
Whitby.
South Whitby, but
somebody said, I heard it was called Whiteby as a play on that name. So you are filled with a large demographic of wasps, I guess.
Yeah, I fully understand that there's going to be segments of the population that don't celebrate Christmas, and that's okay. Like, I understand that. But what I mean is that there are large numbers of people that don't put the effort in that do celebrate Christmas. So, I guess so for those that celebrate it, you think there's absolutely no excuse for them not to put lights out. Yeah, I guess that's where I was coming from in this, is that it doesn't take a lot of effort to put up some kind of a decoration, just in terms of the community spirit. And I realize it's going to vary a lot depending on where you live, where your neighborhood is. If you're in a multicultural area of, multicultural part of the city where, you may have a lot of cultures that may not celebrate Christmas, then yes, one would expect that you would probably have, large segments or large areas where you may not have a lot of Christmas decor. And it's not to make anyone feel bad or to kind of single out any particular group. My view on it is the sense that it's a nice thing to see. It's a sense of community camaraderie. It's funny.
I think we understand. I think we understand your sentiment.
Yeah. So there was a movie on TV a couple weeks back, Christmas with the Kranks. Has Tim Allen in it. And the concept of the movie is that him and his wife want to go away on vacation and not be home for Christmas. So they decided we're not celebrating Christmas. And I'm watching this movie, and it's all about how the neighbors are giving this guy a hard time. Why aren't you putting up your Christmas lights? And why aren't you, putting in your money for the, the community Christmas tree or something like that? I'm thinking, man, these neighbors are real assholes to this guy. And then I'm thinking, hey, wait a second. Am I those guys? Am I sounding like those neighbors that, are sort of offering that critique as to why people aren't putting up their Christmas lights? So hopefully I'm somewhere in the middle there. I don't want to come across as like some hard ass guy that, lays down the law and says, you must celebrate Christmas. By no means am I trying to do that. I just think that, a little bit of effort to, for those who do celebrate Christmas, put up some lights. What's wrong in that? Okay,
well, as a coach in training, as you know, I'm training to be a executive/life coach. I do want to acknowledge you, Paul, for the awareness that you've demonstrated after watching that movie, that you were able to reflect on yourself there. So give yourself a pat on the back.
Okay, I'll give myself a pat on the back there. But it's something I didn't realize that there's quite the slippery slope when you really stop and think about it. Because it's watching that movie, I'm thinking, geez, I hope I don't hope I'm not perceived like the asshole neighbors that were shown in that movie.
I'm gonna have to watch that movie, Christmas with the Kranks.
Christmas with the Kranks. Watch it and you'll see where I'm coming from on this.
All right, we moving into rapid fire?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let me get my timer set up here.
Yeah, so we're doing about 2 minutes per topic. Well, maximum of 2 minutes.
Not about, it's an exact 2 minutes.
All right, exact 2 minutes. There we go. Let's keep us in check here.
All right, why don't you give us our first topic?
Okay, I'm going to kick things off here. We may have talked about in the past where certain restaurants, when they describe their food, it sounds a bit pretentious. One thing in particular that kind of jumped out at me is that I'm noticing the trend now on a lot of restaurant menus is that handheld. I hate that. I hate that so much. Yeah, so sandwiches and hamburgers are now called quote-unquote handhelds. That is so pretentious. I hate that.
So it's like a category of food. Yeah, and underneath it you would find burgers and sandwiches and things.
Yeah. So since when did like a turkey club sandwich become a handheld? Oh, I can't stand that. That is so pretentious. And restaurants, and I hate it when, certain restaurants overuse the term like artisanal or like baby green lettuce or baby carrots, that type of thing.
But those are the names of those things, though. Like baby green and...
No, it's a salad. Just call it as it is. It's just a salad. It's not baby greens.
All right, I agree with you on the artisanal. That is definitely an overused word.
Especially when you get places like McDonald's and Wendy's calling stuff artisanal. If nothing really? Coming out of Wendy's deserves to be called artisanal. Give me a break.
I don't think I've ever seen anything at McDonald's or Wendy's called artisanal. So yes, I would agree with that.
On artisanal buns. Yes, guaranteed. Look it up. You'll see it. You'll be like, why? Nothing artisanal comes out of fast food chains. Anyway, just that's my thoughts. I don't like handhelds. Call it a sandwich.
Well, I guess it is some way of sort of amping up the, making a little bit more fancy, I guess, to call it handheld versus just sandwiches. But I'll go with you on that. I think handheld, and I, Peter and I, one of the listeners, we've run out of time.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
And we're serious. We don't finish our sentence. We got to stop when the bell rings.
Well, I think it sounds pretentious. All right, next question. What you got?
Okay. What's the most expensive bottle of wine you've ever purchased from the wine store or the liquor store?
All right, good question.
Not necessarily what it is, but how much? What's the most you've spent on a bottle of wine?
About $40, maybe 40 to 50, I think is the most we've spent on a bottle. And that's got to be an exceptional wine. My wife and I, we are wine drinkers. We do a lot of wine tastings. We do day trips to the Niagara wine region. We've been to California, Napa, Sonoma area. Every once in a while you find a really nice bottle, and I can justify spending $40 or $50, but anything beyond that, not within my comfort range. But to some people, they think nothing of spending $100. How about yourself? Okay,
so that's the most you've ever spent on a wine in a store?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, about 40.
Okay. All right. And what would be the average you would spend on a bottle of wine?
Average is maybe about $20. It can range usually, like 18, 19 up to about maybe $26, $27 within that range. And I think you can get some really good wines within that range as well. I personally don't think you need to get ridiculous in how much you spend, but as I said, someone with a defined palate more so than mine might be able to justify
right. That. Yeah, I think the most I've spent on a bottle of wine in a store might be $60, $70. But if I was to buy a gift wine, I would go maybe $100 would be about where I would go if I was to go with a gift for something for a special occasion. That's our timer.
Okay.
All right, what do you got?
Next question here.
Is this loud enough, this bell?
I can hear it.
Seems that loud.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, here we go. Keeping with this Christmas theme. You timing?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Why is Christmas the only time of year that we eat crappy foods that we would never eat at any other point in the year? So, for example, like fruitcake, eggnog, baked fatty goods, very indulgent espresso drinks, chocolate liqueurs, like stuff like that I really don't eat any other time of the year. Well, certainly not like fruitcake or eggnog or liqueurs or anything like that. But obviously, yes, I realize it's the Christmas spirit and you're getting together with, social events. But why is it that it's like that one time of the year that it's okay to eat crap? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, in some cultures, you would probably include Thanksgiving as another time of the year. Certainly, American Thanksgiving, I think there would be a plethora of foods similar to the ones you just described. Why? I guess maybe if there were more occasions to do so, people would do it more, I think. And I would say Thanksgiving, you could possibly throw that in for the Canadian Thanksgiving, that people do tend to indulge and eat probably more than they should. Yeah. Not quite to the level, I don't think. Having experienced an American Thanksgiving buffet at a very nice establishment, some of the stuff you see on the table there can be like sweet potato with marshmallows is like a big dish that I've seen. As if sweet potatoes aren't sweet enough, you got to throw marshmallows in it. But I think our friends south of the border are a little bit more indulgent on Thanksgiving than we as Canadians. So I think it just comes down to just not enough opportunities to do it officially. Yeah,
and this is from a Canadian context. And you wonder if it's like marketing has something to do with it, with all the goods that only come out this time of year. But anyway, it just got me to thinking, there's a lot of stuff I would never touch with a 10-foot pole if any other time of the year. But because it's Christmas, bring it all out.
Oh, I got my ringer fixed here, so it's going to be louder. It just went off. Oh, and I got all this construction stuff going on. So I will mute it. We'll need one of your topics. So let's give another one of your topics.
Okay. Here's another one in keeping with the food theme. And again, this is very much a Canadian issue here. But why is the espresso machine always broken at Tim Hortons? when they're trying so hard to push these espresso drinks. It's this new thing that Tim Hortons, which is the major coffee chain here in Canada, trying to compete with Starbucks, really pushing like the espresso drinks. It's almost become a comical endeavor. Whenever my wife wants like a mocha latte, typically like,
the machine's down.
Yeah, the machine is always down, and it's truly comical. To the point where it is truly a significant amount of time. So it makes you wonder, are they using cheap machines? Is it staff are incompetent? What gives with that? Because, you never hear about that happening at Starbucks.
Well, let me just set this up. First of all, a Tim Hortons is similar to a Dunkin' Donuts in the United States. Yeah. So that will probably give people some context. This is a place that is known for coffee and for donuts. And I'll throw bagels in there, maybe for extra good measure, muffins, things like that. It's very much a fast food type of establishment. Whereas a Starbucks, although it's, franchises and it's a big brand name, there's hundreds of thousands of locations, it is not a Tim Hortons. So I think it's exactly what you said. Baristas, I would never apply the term barista to any employee operating underneath of a Tim Hortons roof.
Right, good point.
So your first of all, machines, the difference in the machines as well is completely different. You see real cappuccino machines in a Starbucks versus a McDonald's, you can throw McDonald's in there probably too. A Tim Hortons is literally a place with a machine that says espresso on it and latte on it, and you push that button if it works, and a drink comes out.
That's what I was thinking. Probably cheap machines and lack of baristas. There you go.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a bit too loud. There. Yeah. All right. Really got the bell on that one.
Well, now we know that it works.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Teslas. These things can park themselves now. I saw somebody in a parking lot standing outside of their Tesla, and it was parking itself or coming out of a parking spot by itself, and then the guy got in and drove away. Does that disturb you, or is that like, wow, that's really cool?
I guess, yeah, that's really cool. As we talked about before when we were talking about the autonomous vehicle, it's the way of the future. It's the way things are going. Yeah, Teslas are pretty cool. My wife's cousin has a Tesla, and I got a good look at it and how automated it truly is. And it's only within a matter of years before most vehicles are going to go that route. But yeah,
vehicles are slightly. A lot of vehicles are autonomous already to a certain degree. Like the cruise control now, it follows the vehicle ahead of them. The lane changing. Keeps you from getting out of your lane. It'll actually stop the wheel from moving into the lane. So there's already some automation going on cars as it is. Mm-hmm.
So you can you don't even have to be inside the vehicle for this thing to park, huh?
That's right.
Yeah,
which is a little freaky.
It's freaky to see, but it's super cool.
There's a YouTube video, and there's probably several, where you can see people doing it. So I'll put a link in the show notes.
Hey, it might reduce like the number of road rage incidents in shopping mall parking lots and people digging your cars. So yeah, if all drivers are self-parking, that would probably make for a more peaceful world.
Well, one thing I want to make a comment about, this noise here. How bad is it on your side?
I can hear it.
We're almost out of time, but here, okay, there it goes. Here it is again. Okay. I was going to say that I think in some ways people fear these machines, but I think machines will make smarter decisions than humans. So that's just food for thought.
All right. My next question, while we're talking about shopping malls, with this being in the midst of Christmas season, I was happened to be driving past the local shopping mall the other day, and I was actually kind of, in some ways, a little bit surprised as to the number of cars that were there. And this was like a weeknight when, one would think it would be a little bit quieter. And I'm thinking to myself, in this day and age where online shopping is so mainstream now, and especially with COVID, how most retailers have really ramped up their online presence. curbside pickups. I'm wondering, and this is a legitimate question, why are malls still so busy though? Like, I wonder, like, for me personally, for all the Christmas shopping that my wife and I have done, we have not stepped foot in a mall. We have not had to purchase anything from a mall. So I wonder, like, I guess there are some people that still like to shop in person, but why are malls still that busy? I would think that we're kind of beyond that now.
But are malls less busy, in your opinion, than they were like before COVID?
Well, okay, so that's the thing. I don't know. I'm just judging based on the number of cars in the parking lot. And there is still like a large number of vehicles in the parking lot. Whether or not that translates into sales, I don't know. I don't have those figures. But in terms of the actual bodies in the mall, I was a little bit surprised that there's still a large presence of people that still want to shop in a mall. Yeah, I'm a bit surprised by that.
Well, I'm limiting how much I can say because this noise in the background here, but I think there is definitely less people out there. But I think there are still those that just want to be at a mall in person to shop.
Have you done any shopping at a mall? Have you gone?
I have taken both my kids a couple of times, and I did not come even close to entering that building. So the last place I want to be ever is in a mall.
Yeah.
I think that's it for rapid fire, Paul. Another successful round. We need to move along here. I think we're going to move into our what we're watching, what we're reading, listening to, etc. Mine this week's going to be a what I'm reading, and it's Rich Dad, Poor Dad by, I think it's Robert Kiyosaki. Book's been around a while, I think probably 20 years or so. And I want to say that Robert Kiyosaki, he's kind of gotten himself into a bit of hot water over the last few years with some sort of multi-layer marketing type schemes and things. But I don't want that to take away from the message that comes from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It is an eye-opening book. I mean, it's not rocket science, a lot of the concepts he talks about, but basically it's a book where he tells a story. He tells a story in kind of a parable format where he's got a rich dad and a poor dad. His rich dad is his friend's dad, and his poor dad is his real dad. And I just found the way that we talk about money, the way you grow up hearing about money can have a huge influence on the way you look at wealth and that sort of thing. And I've found that listening to this book has been an excellent eye-opener for me and a reminder of some of the things that, might be holding many people back in terms of getting to a point where they can call themselves wealthy. Couple of tips that came from it. I won't get into it too far because I actually think this would make for a good book review episode for us. But things like rich people buy assets, poor people buy liabilities. Rich people buy real estate or stocks. Poor people buy things like expensive cars. Poor people work for money. Rich people make money work for them. Real estate example being a good one. And true wealth is measured, this one I really like, true wealth is measured by how long you can survive into the future without needing to work.
Interesting, yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I think we can make this a book review club topic in itself too, because there's so many great concepts in there. So, I haven't read the book cover to cover myself, but I'm very familiar with the concepts of it. Where, I think the concept that the sort of an old fashioned way of thinking where you just you work for your paycheck type of thing. We're in a world now where that's not quite good enough. Just collecting your paycheck is fine, but you're not going to get wealthy. You have to think outside the box and look at, various income streams in order to truly put you into that next bracket or next segment of the population that has, disposable wealth at their fingertips. So.
Yeah, and he kicks off the book by just talking about how one of the sad things in our society is that money and how to handle it is not generally taught in schools.
Oh, I agree completely. Yeah.
When's the first time you found out what it was like to have debt?
Yeah.
And what it meant and how to pay it off?
Yeah.
Well, it was probably a year after I got my credit card, and I was $4,000 in debt with a job that, not minimum wage, but it certainly wasn't enough to pay off $4,000 in debt.
Yeah, I don't know what the school curriculum is now these days, but back when you and I were going to school, there was no courses on how to balance a checkbook or, how to create a personal budget. Like stuff like that wasn't taught in school. So it's no wonder
the odd teacher might have taught a little bit of it, maybe in a class. I think I did get one or two teachers that might have touched on it because no one else was doing it. So there was a little bit of it, but I believe that this should be in the curriculum.
Yeah,
absolutely in the curriculum of schools. Teaching kids from as young as possible. Like you could teach kids in the primary ages, very basic concepts.
Yeah.
And then as you go along into high school, start talking about, well, you're going to get a credit card in the mail one day or an application for one. And you're going to think all of a sudden this is money that is available to you. Oh, wow. Yeah. Like I remember getting my first credit card. It was, oh, wow. Now I can buy that stereo I've always had my eye on.
Yeah.
And you start out with like $500, right? $500. Great. Now I can buy this. And then you pay it off, minimum payments, usually like $10 a month or something. And then the next thing you know, they give you a credit increase. Now you've got $1,000 limit. And then it's $2,500, then it's $5,000, and it just goes on and on and on.
I think this sounds like a future topic we gotta discuss.
Let's make it. Let's definitely table it.
Let's table this for another episode.
All right, what do you got?
Well, I finally jumped onto this Squid Game bandwagon. I know that you talked about it in a previous episode with Teresa. So yeah, Squid Game. It's something that, my wife and I kept on hearing about, and what is this Squid Game? And, we saw the previews. It's on Netflix, and it piqued our interest. And it's like, all right, fine, let's see what this thing's all about. And first episode, it started off a little slow, but by the end of the episode, once they play the first game, we were hooked. We were like, wow, we got to keep going. So just for those who have not seen Squid Game, highly recommend it. It's 9 episodes, about an hour each episode.
Yep.
The general concept being that financially destitute, indebted people sign up to play this game in which they are paid money if they succeed at this game.
Yes.
I don't want to give
careful on the spoilers.
I don't want to give away any spoilers here, so that's all I'll say about it. But
I do want to ask you though.
It's awesome. I loved it. I've one of those that is very binge worthy.
I do want to ask you, when you watched it, did you put subtitles up, or did you listen to the translated version?
Yeah, like the translated version, so like the English dubbing. And God. There was
horrible.
You get used to it. Like there's a few scenes, certain characters that got a bit shrill at times and was a bit unrealistic.
So you listened to it with like dubbing?
Yeah, with the dubbing. Yeah, so it was a little distracting, but once you get past the first episode, you just kind of get used to it, and you just kind of tune out the weirdness. But I don't use that as an excuse not to watch this show, just because the plot. Well,
I was going to say
amazing.
I watched it with subtitles, so I got to hear the real voices of the people translated, and I believe that's the only way I watch shows like that. I will not watch a dubbed version of a show. It's just because what they've done is just hired actors who are English speakers.
Yeah.
It makes it for a different experience. But I'm glad you enjoyed it anyway.
Oh, yeah. No, I absolutely enjoyed it. I didn't take anything away from it. But I know a lot of people aren't into, some of the foreign language shows. Some people don't like the dubbing or the subtitles. But there's certain shows that it's worth it. You have to look sort of beyond, the North American shows. I've received a lot of recommendations for many other, foreign language shows and movies that I want to check out, which I will certainly do so. just makes you realize there's so much stuff like on Netflix and Prime. Like there's so many good shows out there. It's, you know, we're living in like the golden age of television in some ways, where we have access to so many amazing TV shows and movies.
It is another golden age. You're right.
Yeah.
So, okay, Squid Game for you and Rich Dad, Poor Dad for me. On the reading side, we are getting close to our time. We're pretty much over, but let's finish up with a quick weird news story.
Sounds good.
This one I had to double check. I used Snopes to double check whether this was actually a valid story. It comes from the Times of India, had it reported, and there was also the New York Post. And some of our listeners will be familiar with the New York Post. I think it's a bit of a tabloidish type of paper. But the headline is, 2 killer monkeys captured in India after revenge massacre of 250 dogs.
What?
So sensitive listeners, you may want to skip over this. It's not too bad, but 2 monkeys have reportedly been captured in India for killing some 250 dogs in a murderous revenge massacre after pooches killed one of their babies. The primate, this is where it gets a little bit sensitive, the primate perps allegedly slaughtered the dogs by dragging them to the tops of buildings and trees about 300 miles east of Mumbai and dropped them to their deaths. 2 monkeys
so
involved in the killing have been captured, and they won't face criminal charges. They will be shipped off to somewhere called Nagpur to be released in a nearby forest.
Okay, so this is so weird. So when they're talking about like these killer monkeys, so they only captured 2, but was there a gang of monkeys? Like, are we talking about like 10, 12, 20 monkeys, or just these 2 monkeys that took it upon themselves to kill these dogs?
Good question. They're called Langur monkeys, Langur. They don't get into details, I don't think, here about how many monkeys there were. They just, there's probably several. I think they travel in packs, the monkeys. But apparently, the sort of part that takes this a bit further is that the villagers of this village decided to try to wrangle up some of the monkeys. But the monkeys actually turned their sights on some of the local men of the village who were injured after falling from buildings while trying to save the dogs.
Wow, this is so weird. So, yeah, I guess this is a real issue with these dangerous monkeys. Like, you have to carry a sidearm with you when you're in India, like.
Well, way back, Simon and I did an episode where we talked about these monkeys that stoned a guy to death by throwing bricks on him.
Yeah, I recall that episode, yeah. You know, and maybe for the show notes, you should include a photo of this Langur monkey, because I'm looking at it right now, and it's pretty small looking, well, smallish. You know, it's hardly an intimidating monkey. Like, you would look at it and it looks like it's like something cute, cuddly monkey you'd find at a zoo. So to look at this thing and, you know, picture this thing as like this horrible sadistic killer, it adds to the bizarreness of this situation. So yeah, let's add some photos on the show notes so you can get an idea as to what we're talking about here.
Yes, they are cute monkeys. The ones we did in that other episode were, I think, Rhesus monkeys, which were definitely kind of scary. They had fangs and things like that. But those are cute little monkeys there. But yeah. I think it goes to show, when you mess with one of a monkey's babies, you better be prepared to face the consequences.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting.
As with many wild animals.
Yeah. But it's interesting in the sense that these monkeys were smart enough to engage in like revenge tactics.
Right.
Yeah, like they set out to, you know, kill that many dogs. Like I didn't know that was possible.
Well, I guess that just shows you how similar they are to humans, right? Like, I think if it had been the other way around, I don't think dogs would have been going after monkeys and doing this. It's just because of that higher level of intelligence. But don't mess with any wild animals, babies. Certainly not the Langur monkey.
Yeah. Well, there you go. It's our first public service announcement: is stay clear of the monkeys.
Well, you have yourself a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and Happy New Year to everybody out there, however you celebrate, whether it's with Christmas lights or not, whether you celebrate Christmas or not. But it's with a good opportunity to thank our listeners for tuning in and all the best to everybody, and I hope Omicron, which actually that was another topic I wanted to say, is how many times have you heard that word pronounced a different way?
Oh yeah, many times, yeah. But yeah, just to echo your comments, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to yourself, Clark, and to our listeners, our loyal listeners. It's been a great year. We've had a lot of great feedback from our listeners this year. So sort of a 2021, year in review, year in recap. It's been a fun year for us, and it's been a lot of challenges and a lot of interesting news, ideas and topics and stuff going on. So just to all of our listeners, wish you a Merry Christmas, whether you Happy Holidays, whatever religion you are. I send you all the best.
And we're not afraid of listener mail. Please send it our way. Sandman88, if you want to send us a follow-up, we're happy to read it. And anyone else that has anything to say, we talked about this 99@gmail.com as our email address. And we're happy to take your comments, and we'll read them out on the air.
The feedback we get from our listeners, it's great to hear that. And, here we are, a couple of guys pontificating behind our microphones, but it's good to get some feedback and to say, keep us in check and, keep us on, keep our facts straight and heading the right way. So yeah, I encourage everyone to send us your commenents. It's, we love to talk about it.
Paul has a thick skin, so I'll include all the other letters that I didn't share with you, and then we can go through those.
You'll include all the hate mail. All right, let's.
All right, have a good one.
You too. Take care.
My name is Clark Luby, and this is my demo reel. And now, introducing your 2021-2022 Oshawa Generals. On forward, number 7, hailing from Berlin, Germany, Kevin Nedenz. On forward, hailing from Hamilton, Ontario, Dawson McKinney. From Stony Creek, Ontario, number 16 on right wing, Ryan Stepien. Oshawa goal scored by number 44, Brett Harrison. An assist by number 71, Ty Tullio. And number 25, David Jesus. Time 10:38. Brett Harrison from Ty Tullio and David Jesus. Time 10:38. Very goal scored by number 55, Brant Clark. Assist by number 81, Chris Grisolia. And number 34, Ryan Del Monte. Time 16:31. Brant Clark from Chris Grisolia and Ryan Del Monte. Time 16:31. Barry penalty to number 10, Vladislav Dvurachensky. 5 minutes for fighting. Oshawa penalty to number 24, Andrew Witten. 5 minutes for fighting and a 10-minute misconduct. For Barry, Dvurachensky, 5 minutes for fighting, and for Oshawa, Witten, 5 minutes for fighting and a 10-minute misconduct. Time 17:45. And congratulations to everyone in section 109, your tonight's Pizza Lucky section.
I feel good. I knew that I wouldn't.
Ladies and gentlemen, Please rise if you are able, and remove your hats for the singing of the national anthem. This season, the Oshawa Generals want to honor those who helped the OHL community and the entire province through some of the toughest times we have all collectively faced. It's why we're introducing the Oshawa Generals Healthcare Hero, presented by our local Desjardins agents. At every single home game this season, the Oshawa Generals and Desjardins agents want to invite and celebrate a healthcare worker and their friends and family for everything they've done throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. We recognize that every story is different and that impacts are felt in different ways. We want you to be as much a part of this celebration as ever. To nominate someone you feel deserves to be celebrated this season, please visit oshawagenerals.com.